Family, there comes a time when the truth refuses to stay buried. A time when the voices of the ancient rise up from the dust, crying out, "Remember us!" And in this divine hour, that time is now. You see, we've been handed a version of history that's been cut, censored, and controlled. But our spirit keeps searching, our soul keeps reaching. Why? Because we know there's more. Deep within our bones, we feel it. There are missing pieces. There are books that were silenced, not because they were false, but because they were too true, too revealing, too raw, too revolutionary. Today, I'm not just talking about curiosity. I'm talking about awakening. I'm talking about the banned books. The scriptures that were once read by our ancestors but were later cast out, labeled dangerous, unorthodox, and apocryphal. But church, when man bans it, God still blesses it. And when they try to hide the truth will still rise up. So buckle up, because we're about to walk through the gates of the forbidden and recover the wisdom that was never meant to be lost. These are the 3 banned books from the Bible you need to know. The Book of Enoch. There is more beyond the veil. My brothers and my sisters, let me talk to you today about a book they never wanted you to see. A book that was once known, once read, once honored, but then buried. Not because it was false, but because it told too much truth. I'm talking about the Book of Enoch. Yes, that Enoch. The one the Bible tells us walked with God and was not, for God took him. But have you ever wondered why? Why did God take him? What did Enoch see? What did he know? Let me tell you something. The Book of Enoch is not a fairy tale. It's a record of a man who saw the heavens open, who walked among angels, who saw things beyond time. And you better believe that when someone like that speaks, the world either listens or tries to silence them. And guess what the world did? It silenced him. But the voice of truth can only be quiet for so long. The trumpet is sounding again, and the voice of Enoch is rising. Enoch's book opens with a message not just for his time, but for ours. He says his words are for a distant generation, a generation that would live in the days of judgment and awakening. That's us. We are that generation. The very first line of the book says, "The words of the blessing of Enoch, wherewith he blessed the elect and righteous, who will be living in the day of tribulation." Enoch saw you. He saw me. He saw our struggle. He saw our hunger for truth. And through this book, he reaches across time to say, there's more. Don't settle for the surface. There is more beyond the veil. Now hear me out. This book reveals things that make religious systems uncomfortable. It speaks of the watchers, angels, who came down and broke divine law. They lusted after human women and gave birth to giants, the Nephilim. These beings brought violence, war, sorcery, and corruption into the world. You think what we see today is new? No, it's just recycled. The corruption we see in governments, in institutions, in entertainment, in technology, it's the same ancient spirits working through new systems. Enoch called them out. He named them. He exposed their rebellion. And that's why his book got cut. You see, Enoch doesn't just tell a story. He reveals a realm. He shows that behind every earthly event, there's a spiritual force. Behind every empire, there's a principality. Behind every downfall, there's disobedience. This book doesn't let you stay asleep. It forces your eyes open. And once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Once you hear the trumpet, you can't go back to sleep. And let me be clear. The world doesn't want awakened people. The world doesn't want people who know who they are, where they came from, or what's truly going on. That's why they cut out Enoch. That's why they buried it. Because truth threatens control. But here's what they didn't count on. That even buried truth still speaks. Even when hidden, it still burns. And now, in this time of divine awakening, the Book of Enoch is being read again, not by the elite, not by the religious authorities, but by the everyday seeker. The mother with questions, the father with fire, the child with curiosity, the oppressed who always knew there was more. We are reading it because our spirit is leading us back to the ancient path. Now I want you to imagine something. Picture Enoch, a man in ancient times, taken up into the heavens, not just once, but many times. He writes down what he sees: levels of heaven, ranks of angels, the dwelling places of the righteous and the wicked. He's not guessing, he's witnessing. And what he sees is so powerful, so holy, so overwhelming that he knows it's not just for his generation. He writes it down for us. Enoch describes the throne of God with detail that rivals any prophet. He sees the face of the Holy One. He hears the prayers of the righteous ascend like smoke. He sees the book of life opened before the Ancient of Days. And then he looks down and sees the earth, a place full of corruption, injustice, violence, and sin. And he weeps. He intercedes. He becomes a prophet, a priest, a watcher in his own right. And here's the revelation. Enoch wasn't just taken by God because he was righteous. He was taken because he had completed his mission. He had seen the end from the beginning. He had recorded the secrets of heaven and the coming judgment. And God said, "Well done." That same God is calling us today. He's saying, will you walk with me like Enoch did? Will you see past the veil? Will you believe that there's more? Let me tell you what this means for you. It means you're not just a human being. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. You have a calling. You have an inheritance. And the world may call you crazy for reading Enoch. They may say it's not canon, not credible, not relevant. But let me ask you, if it wasn't relevant, why are the powers of this world so afraid of it? If it wasn't powerful, why did the early church read it? Until Rome said no more, because the Book of Enoch wakes people up. It tells you that giants once walked the earth. It tells you that fallen angels brought forbidden knowledge. It tells you that judgment is coming, but also that redemption is near. It tells you that the Son of Man, long before the New Testament, was seen coming in the clouds with power and glory. Enoch saw the Messiah before Bethlehem. He saw the cross before Calvary. He saw the kingdom before the apostles. This is not a myth. This is prophecy. This is power. So what now? What do we do with this book? We read it with prayer. We read it with discernment. But most of all, we read it with hunger. Hunger for righteousness. Hunger for revelation. Hunger for the truth they tried to erase. Because if we are truly in the last days, as so many believe, then we must go back to the roots. We must uncover what was buried. We must reclaim what was stolen. I say to you, lift your head, open your heart, let your spirit bear witness. Don't be afraid of the hidden books. They were hidden for a reason, but not from you. They were hidden for you to be revealed in this very season. The Book of Enoch is more than a text. It's a trumpet. And today that trumpet is sounding. Can you hear it? The Book of Jasher. History hidden from the oppressed. There is a reason why they don't want you to read certain books. There is a reason why some stories were stripped from your Bible, some chapters left out, some voices silenced, because truth is dangerous when it empowers the oppressed. Truth is revolutionary when it reaches the ears of those who have been lied to for generations. And one of the most powerful truths hidden from us is found in the Book of Jasher. Not a fantasy, not a myth. A book your very own Bible mentions by name twice. Joshua 10:13 says, "Is this not written in the Book of Jasher?" And again in 2 Samuel 1:18, "Behold, it is written in the Book of Jasher." The Bible doesn't ask questions. It doesn't expect you to pursue. It gives you clues. It leaves trails. You see, they removed Jasher not because it didn't fit, but because it fit too well. Because Jasher fills in the blanks. Jasher doesn't contradict the word, it confirms it. but it also adds detail, depth, and dimension, especially to stories about our identity, our history, and our divine origin. And when a people know where they come from, they begin to walk differently. And that's exactly what they didn't want. Jasher is more than a history book. It's a book of memory. It's a record of the ancient past, handed down not for kings and scholars, but for the people, for the ones who've been told they're nobodies, when in fact they come from royal bloodlines. The Book of Jasher traces the roots of humanity all the way from Adam to the patriarchs. It gives voice to those whose names were briefly mentioned in the Bible, then quickly passed over. Jasher slows down the story. It gives color to the black and white pages. It breathes life back into our lineage. Let me tell you what makes this book so powerful. You remember Abraham, right? The father of the faith. In Jasher, you don't just get the Abraham who left Ur. You get the Abraham who challenged kings, who destroyed idols as a child, who sought the Most High when the world bowed to stone. It shows his battles, his bravery, his boldness. And suddenly you realize this wasn't just a man of faith, this was a man of fire, but a revolutionary in his own time. Jasher doesn't just show Abraham's journey, it reveals his fight. And that fight is in you too. Remember Jacob and Esau? Jasher goes deeper. It shows the tension, the culture, the power dynamics that shape their choices. It doesn't just give you a moment, it gives you the meaning behind the moment. It helps you understand not only who they were, but how their decisions echoed through generations. And let me say this clearly, the decisions of your ancestors still echo in you. Whether they chose truth or deception, wisdom or pride, the vibrations of those choices shape our lives. Jasher teaches us not just to read history, but to discern it. And then there's Moses. Oh, Jasher spends time with Moses. Before the Red Sea, before Pharaoh's courts, Jasher tells you about Moses in the house of the king, about how he was taught the ways of Egypt but never forgot his people, about how he led armies before he ever led Israel, about how his spirit couldn't rest while his people suffered. That sound familiar? There are some of you who know what it's like to live in the palace, but cry for the ones in the fields. You've tasted comfort, but you still ache for the oppressed. That's Moses. That's you. And Jasher brings that story out of the shadows and into the light. But let me go deeper. Jasher not only shows you the lives of the chosen, it shows you the movements of the nations. It shows how kingdoms rose and fell, how pride brought down empires, how people who forgot God lost their power. And when you read it, you start to realize this isn't just ancient history. This is a mirror. This is prophecy wrapped in memory, because we are watching nations rise and fall today. We are watching people turn from God and fall into confusion. And just like in Jasher, judgment doesn't come all at once. It comes in waves. First deception, then division, then destruction. Sound familiar? But here's the most powerful part of Jasher, something that will shake you if you let it. This book, written thousands of years ago, preserves a story of a people who were constantly under attack, constantly misunderstood, constantly persecuted, but chosen. They were chosen not because they were perfect, but because they were preserved. Through slavery, through exile, through wandering, through war, they held on to identity, even when the world tried to erase it. Does that sound familiar? It should, because that's your story too. Many of us have been told that our history began with slavery, that our roots are in chains. But the Book of Jasher reminds you that before the chains, there was a covenant. Before oppression, there was anointing. Before captivity, there was a calling. The world may try to hide that history, but heaven never forgot it. Jasher didn't forget it. And now it's being revealed again, not to the powerful, but to the willing, to the hungry, to the ones whose hearts burn for something more. You want to know why the oppressed need this book? Because when your history has been stripped, your power gets buried. But Jasher uncovers it. It It shows you the power of your ancestors, the wisdom of those who came before. It reminds you that you come from people who endured, who conquered, who saw the face of God and lived. You don't come from weakness, you come from warriors. You don't come from silence, you come from prophets. And if you've ever felt like something was missing in the story you were told, Jasher fills in the missing pieces. But don't expect everyone to agree with you. When you start reading Jasher, when you start waking up, when you start connecting dots they never taught you to connect, some folks will call you crazy. They'll say you're chasing fairy tales, but let them talk, because deep down your spirit knows what your mind has forgotten. The oppressed don't need more entertainment, they need enlightenment. And Jasher is a light that shines on a path long hidden. So I say to you, don't be afraid to open this book. Don't be afraid to question what you were taught. Don't be afraid to go beyond the Sunday school version and seek the sacred truth. The Book of Jasher isn't a replacement for the Bible. It's a revelation within it. It's a puzzle piece that helps the full picture come alive. It's a key that unlocks doors of understanding you never knew existed. Because you, my brother, my sister, are part of a lineage that refuses to be erased. And your story didn't begin in chains. It began in covenant. And when you walk with that knowledge, the world can't hold you, depression can't keep you, confusion can't break you. Because you know whose you are, and you know where you come from. They hid the Book of Jasher from the masses, but they couldn't hide it from the remnant. And today the remnant is rising, reading, remembering, reclaiming, because history, hidden from the oppressed, is being returned to the awakened. Can you feel it? Book 3, the Book of Jubilees, the blueprint of time. There is a book that speaks like a clock. A book that doesn't just tell you what happened, but when it happened and why. A book that reveals the rhythm of creation, the order of divine appointments, and the sacred design behind the chaos we see today. This is the Book of Jubilees, not just a lost text, not just an ancient scroll, but a divine calendar, a holy blueprint for a people forgotten, silenced, and scattered. It was hidden not because it was irrelevant, but because it was too precise, too powerful, too prophetic. This book is the reckoning of time as the Most High intended it. Not the broken man-made calendars we follow today. Not the confusion of endless months and holidays with no meaning. The Book of Jubilees restores order to the disorder. It reminds us that our God is not random. He is not disorganized. He is a God of cycles, seasons, and sacred appointments. And when we align ourselves with His time, we begin to live with purpose, with clarity. The Book of Jubilees, often called the Little Genesis, retells the stories of the patriarchs, from creation to the Exodus, but it does something extraordinary. It places each event within a divine timeline. Nothing is random. Adam was not just made, he was made in a specific year, on a specific day. Abraham didn't just walk by faith, he walked according to a set time. Moses didn't just deliver Israel, he fulfilled a prophetic season. And when you realize this, you begin to ask yourself, what time is it now? Jubilees shows us that every 49 years, a jubilee was to be declared, a year of restoration, release, and return. Debts forgiven, slaves set free, land restored to its rightful owners. That was God's rhythm. A holy reset built into the fabric of time itself. But what happens when that cycle is ignored? When the jubilee is stolen, when the oppressed are never released, and the land is never returned? Then you get what we see now. A world out of rhythm, a people out of place, a creation groaning for redemption. My brothers and my sisters, this book is not just history, it's prophecy. It's a warning and a promise. Because the Book of Jubilees reveals that when time is abused, judgment follows. But it also reveals that a remnant will rise, a people will awaken. They will remember the appointed times. They will realign with heaven. And when they do, power returns. Vision returns. Identity returns. Because knowing divine time is knowing divine purpose. One of the greatest deceptions we've suffered is the loss of sacred time. We've been taught to forget the Sabbath, to ignore the feasts, to live by a calendar built by emperors and popes. But the Most High never changed his schedule. We did. And the Book of Jubilees pulls us back, not into bondage, but into order, into the blessing that comes when we walk in step with the Creator, not the culture. This book also uncovers the forgotten covenants. It reminds us that God made more than one covenant. He made covenants with Adam, with Noah, with Abraham, with Jacob. And these covenants were not just for individuals. They were for generations, for bloodlines, for a people who would carry his name through persecution, captivity, and exile. Jubilees reminds us that our heritage didn't begin in the wilderness. It began in Eden. That before we were slaves in Egypt, we were children of promise. And when you reclaim that covenantal identity, you stop walking like a victim and start walking like a vessel of divine power. The Book of Jubilees goes further than any other text in explaining how sin entered the world, how angels fell, and how rebellion spread. But it also shows how the Most High always had a plan, a way back, a law written not just on stone, but in the stars, in the soil, in the soul. Jubilees tells us the law was given in heaven before it was ever written on Sinai. That righteousness is not a religion, it's a rhythm. And when you step into that rhythm, everything changes. Some people fear this book because it challenges their tradition. It shakes their timeline. It disturbs their theology. But we are not called to protect tradition. We are called to pursue truth. And the truth is this: many of the people walking in darkness today are not rebellious. They're just out of rhythm. They're on the wrong clock. Their spiritual calendar is broken, and the enemy knows that if he can steal your time, he can steal your destiny. But Jubilees is a divine alarm clock. It's ringing now, and it's saying, wake up, the time is now. When you open this book, you'll begin to see that history is not just repeating, it's accelerating. That everything happening now was prophesied in cycles long ago. That we are not in a random age, we are in a return to truth, a return to covenant, a return to holy time. And the enemy is terrified of that return, because when you walk in divine time, you walk in divine authority. You don't chase blessings, they find you. You don't beg for identity, you embody it. Jubilees doesn't just teach you about feast days and Sabbaths. It teaches you about restoration. That no matter how long we've been scattered or enslaved, our time is not lost. It is redeemable. That's what the Jubilee is all about. God says, I will bring back what was stolen. I will gather the dispersed. I will restore the years the locusts have eaten. And there's a generation, this generation, that is waking up to that promise. We are not waiting for permission to return. We are stepping into appointed time with boldness, with awareness, with expectation. The world wants you to believe that time belongs to them, that you're too late, that you're too broken, that you've missed your season. But the Book of Jubilees says otherwise. It says that the Most High holds time in his hand, that he is not late, that he remembers his people, that even when we forget him, he never forgets us. And he has marked this season for awakening. He has marked this generation for revelation. There's a reason you're here right now, a reason these hidden books are resurfacing now, because God is reestablishing his order. He's revealing his blueprint, and he's calling the forgotten, the oppressed, the weary, and the scattered back into alignment. Not with man-made religion, but with divine rhythm, with sacred purpose, with appointed time. So I challenge you today, not just to read the Book of Jubilees, but to listen to it. Let it speak to your spirit. Let it recalibrate your soul. Let it remind you that you were born for more than survival. You were born for sacred timing. You were born to fulfill prophecy. And every time you rise in righteousness, every time you remember who you are and whose you are You fulfill the ancient rhythm of the Most High. This is more than a book. This is a revelation, a revival, a restoration. It's not for the curious, it's for the committed. Not for the casual, it's for the called. And if you're hearing this now, if your heart is burning, if your spirit is stirring, it's because your time has come. My brothers and my sisters, now that your spirit has heard the cry of the hidden books, you cannot return to sleep. Now that your soul has been stirred by the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jasher, and the Book of Jubilees, you must understand this. These books were not hidden to stay hidden. They were buried for a time, for such a time as this. They were removed from sight, not because they were false, but because they were too true, because they reveal power, because they awaken identity, because they shake the foundations of every lie this world has told you. The Book of Enoch teaches you that there is more beyond the veil, that angels fell, that heaven watches, that judgment is real, but so is mercy. It tells you that the spiritual world is not fiction, it is your battlefield, that your prayers, your choices, your walk, they echo beyond this realm. You are more than flesh and blood. You are spirit wrapped in destiny. The Book of Jasher uncovers your roots. It restores the honor of your ancestors. It reminds you that you come from warriors and prophets, from covenants and kings. It tells the story that was stripped from you, that you are not a footnote in history, but a foundation, that your people were chosen, tested, and preserved, not to be forgotten, but to be revealed. The Book of Jubilees reclaims your rhythm. It reconnects you to divine time. It restores the calendar of heaven. It shows that nothing in your life is random, that God has appointments with you, moments marked for healing, for deliverance, for awakening. And the enemy has tried to make you miss them, but not anymore. Now you know what time it is. You are the generation that is called to remember what the world tried to erase. You are the voice that breaks the silence of centuries. You are the light rising in a land of deep darkness. And as these books return, so does your awareness, so does your power, so does your responsibility. This is not entertainment. This is evidence. Evidence that you were never meant to be slaves. Evidence that your history didn't begin in chains, but in glory. Evidence that the Creator of all things placed His image upon you, gave His word to you, and placed His Spirit within you. So now the question is not what happened to the books. The question is, what will you do now that they've returned? Will you seek? Will you study? Will you awaken? Or will you scroll past truth while your destiny waits? I say no more delays, no more silence, no more lost generations. Let this be your moment of return. Return to identity, return to covenant, return to truth. Because the veil has been lifted, the history has been restored, and the blueprint has been revealed. Now walk in it, teach your children, awaken your brothers, stir your sisters, because this is not just about ancient texts, it's about you. You are the lost chapter that the world is about to read. You are the living epistle, the prophecy in motion, the remnant rising. So I leave you with this. Be still and know that He is God, but do not be silent. Speak the truth, live the truth, and reclaim the truth that was always yours, because the time is now. And you were born for this.